Hello and welcome. My name is Mark Tyoxin, and this is the Witchy podcast, where we talk about all things witchy and many things not so witchy. With me today is Kaylie.
Yes, hi. Sorry.
What's your last name?
Damen, Kaylie Damen.
Kaylie Damen.
Yeah.
You are a...
How do we want to phrase this succinctly? I am a, I guess you could just say reader, energy healer, and artist.
Awesome. All right. With me today is Kaylie Damen, a reader, energy healer, and artist. Thanks for hanging out with me today.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me on the show.
How long in your life, I don't know how to describe it, would you say that you have been a reader we're talking tarot cards or?
Yeah, well, I think as far as intuitive reading, psychic reading, all of that starts, well, not for everybody, it's different for everyone's story, but for me, as a child, I was one of those little creepy psychic kids where your mom's oh my god, is my daughter okay? So I would predict things that were gonna happen.
How old are we talking?
Oh gosh, probably 4. It might have been younger than that. I've never cross-referenced with my mom,
so
but
you would be one of those kids listed in those creepy pasta stories.
Yes. But I never was doomsday. I guess sometimes we lived in Southern California, and so I would wake up and I can't really remember if I was woken up by a guide or if the message just kind of came to me for these types of things, because I would just wake up knowing there's going to be an earthquake, and I would go tell my parents, and the first couple times it happened they were okay, you're gonna be fine, go back to bed. And then there'd be an earthquake would happen, they'd be
right.
oh shit, maybe we should have listened to her. So by the time last couple times it would happen, they'd be all right, so they would just listen to me, and we would they'd get my little brother and we'd go in the doorway, which you're supposed to do. So yeah, that, and then more things my mom was trying to get pregnant, and I had a visitation, it's the most amazing visitation my whole life, from an angel, and told me that my mom was going to be pregnant with a boy and that he was a gift. And so,
wow.
Yeah, and so then I told my mom, and she was
How old were you at that time?
I must have still been around 4, because my brother is, or I guess maybe even a little younger. My brother is 4.5 years younger than me, so okay. I don't know. But I can remember these things so vividly. A lot of people say they can't remember early childhood. Right. I can remember so much. Yeah. So I think it's because it was so weird, and I was what?
When did you get your first tarot deck then? Or your first experience with it?
Honestly, that wouldn't have been until college.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Because I actually grew up really religious. Mm-hmm. And so tarot and everything like that was
the occult.
Yes, it was the devil's cards, so off limits. And that was something that I had always had a fear association with, because mm-hmm. I knew ultimately there's more out there, right? I had all these psychic experiences, I had visitations, and so it's I'm if I touch that, what will I unlock? Right. The demons or whatever, because it's I believed in all of it.
Now they've got you.
They've got me, yeah. So it wasn't until college, and then I started to kind of play around, and then my first deck that I got was an angel cards oracle deck.
Okay.
Because I was okay, this feels I'm dipping my toes in the water. It feels safe. I work with the angels already.
It's angel cards.
Yeah.
Guys, not devil cards.
Right.
This has got to be okay.
But I think that those tools are really great because they do take away that fear. They take away some of the, what do you call it? Interpretations that people have of these things being dark, demonic, occult. Right. If you see a very traditional spooky tarot deck or whatever, and then you see the exact same thing, it's the same deck, but it's got fairies on it. Right. Some people are going to be okay, it's not so scary. Because really all it is
it's not so
It's not.
Scary.
It's just literally...
I'm scared by the dark ones.
Yes.
Well, some of them, I'm whoa, this one's too dark.
Yeah, they do carry different energies, for sure. But what you were saying earlier, it's they're tools, and all the tarot does is really kind of show us a mirror back on ourselves. It's archetypes, and it's the hero's journey. And when you learn to tell that story, you're really just doing a big project of self-reflection. So it's free therapy.
Now, currently, what types of sessions do you offer? Sessions?
Yeah.
What type of sessions do you offer?
So I do, I do readings. So in my readings, they're sort of like a blend of like whatever I kind of feel called to. So we might do tarot. I usually always pull cards. That's sort of like my favorite tool. But then, we might like work with crystals or do candle magic. So I just kind of call them like intuitive readings.
Okay.
And then I also offer energy healing as well. And so, I'm a Reiki practitioner and a pranic healer. And then what do you call it? Where you like self-taught sound healer. So like,
What type of instruments do you use for that?
Yeah, so I have these amazing chimes. You might have heard of them. They're like Koshi chimes. Okay. Oh my God, they're so magical. And I have these like copper or like, what is the metal? Brass. Yeah. Like brass, copper. Copper's too expensive, I think. They can't be copper. Singing bowls, sound bowls. I really want some crystal ones. And then my drum you see right there. So I'll do some drumming. Yeah.
That's not your ukulele.
No, I don't do that for sessions, but I actually sing. I actually do kind of like channeled singing.
Oh, that's
so yeah, I love like that's sort of like I grew up singing and stuff. And so I just kind of like, it doesn't make sense. Like it's not in English, whatever it is. Like when I'm singing over someone, it's like, it's like, I don't know. Honestly, it feels like musical prayer. So yeah, I really love doing it. I love when clients are open to me getting all singy and weird.
How are your clients finding you now?
So, Instagram, social media is always like a great way that people can find me. But I also do in-person sessions at Future Perfect. It is a massage, but they're also just kind of like amazing like healers and just kind of like in general.
What is this?
Future Perfect Massage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a brick and mortar location in Cabbagetown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I work with them, and so we do like cross promotion and stuff. So I have like in-person sessions. Pretty much right now it's like once a week over there. So you can see me in person, or you could see me like virtually.
What is doing readings, or basically is your witch work the bulk of your work at this point, or are you doing other artsy things?
Yeah. Okay, so I feel like it's kind of like three like plates that I spin in the air. All of the witchy work that, like I said, I kind of do in person and I do remotely and promote on my website and my Instagram, then I like to create. So as far as like being, an artist goes, I use that term like really loosely. It's like creator, I feel like I like to make videos. I've had like a YouTube channel before. I make candles, these little like dressed candles and things like that. Yeah, which I sell those as well. And then I guess the other plate is my more muggle work. Not as fun. Yeah, it's not as witchy, it's not as cool, but I have a background in basically helping people with their YouTube channels. So
that's excellent.
Yeah, so I have like some companies that I basically like I help optimize their whole channel and like all of the back end SEO and that kind of stuff. So yeah, social media consulting, I guess.
Right. No, that's great.
Yeah.
You get to work in all those things. I'm gonna think of a question.
I'm gonna take a sip too. Mine's so icy.
Are there any major energetic shifts or changes that you've noticed in the last 3 months? Just because I feel like in the last 3 months is really is the opening up from the pandemic more and more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, with your clients or different things they're worried about or not worried about, or is it a time for like not being more?
I feel like that's a really good question. I guess what I've seen like in the past 3 months or so has been like almost like people are at like a crossroads, because I feel like during the pandemic a lot of people really were going into themselves. A lot of introspection, a lot of self-reflection, and a lot of quitting. People you saw like so many people were quitting their jobs. They're like, I'm not living like a purpose-filled life, so like I'm out of here. So now I feel like it's sort of like, okay, put your money where your mouth is time.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of...
you can easily go back.
Exactly. You can easily go back to it. And I think with all of like, I had so many friends like experience such like beautiful like relationship and soul growth. But now that they're in these environments where they're like socializing back at, you know, bars and parties and stuff like that, it's like, do you revert back to the way that you were, you know, maybe which was like a little bit more like maybe unkind or a little bit selfish? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, or do you hang on to that growth that you had and apply
it's also remembering sort of these epiphanies that you've had.
Yes.
That perspective.
Yeah.
That's really it. Remembering that perspective. So for me, a few years ago, 2018, I got sick, nearly died, and that whole thing, or I call it a near dying experience, not near death experience. Because right, because that's what it felt like. It was more, I didn't feel like I was dead, or like even, it was like dying, so near dying experience. But when I was in a hospital bed for over a month, that's a perspective, and so many things didn't matter. But now you get back in the world and everything's going fine, and business and traffic, and you're just like, oh yeah, and different pressures on you, or everything's gone back to normal, and you're like, things that at that time didn't matter, sort of like during the pandemic, things that didn't matter, all of a sudden you're letting them matter again.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that whole like we lose remembering that perspective that you once had, and then now you're back into it, and you're like, oh yeah, now I'm annoyed by traffic, and I'm annoyed by people, and I'm an annoying person, and all those things.
Do you feel like it's been hard for you to like? Do you feel like since you've kind of gotten over that hurdle to kind of slide back into like, oh my gosh, I'm like annoyed with the daily life, or do you still keep that near dying experience like top of mind?
Not top of mind, but definitely more a foundation.
Yeah.
And I do have to remind myself a lot of times, but there are so many. I don't know when, but somewhere along the line in these last few years, it really has become more of a practice to do that grateful thing.
Yeah, grateful. That grateful thing.
Well, you know, like thinking about what you're grateful for.
Yes.
Thinking about how things could have been totally different. But all of that, so, and you know, everything's cliche or cheesy at some level, right? So even when I was in the hospital bed and people were like, some people were like, later in the future, you'll realize how great this experience is, or you know, greater things are going to happen down the line. No matter how bad it gets, don't worry. And at the time, you're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, wouldn't have received that well.
But if you let the experience change you, and that's the thing, if you let the experience change you, it can be so much better.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you can always be, I could easily have gone from the point of view that like, I'm not going to let this traumatic experience change me, but why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Why hold on to who I was before?
Right.
So going with that and following that line of thought, like, it flowed into being grateful and reminding myself and having that gracefulness, grateful practice of thinking about things I'm grateful for and how bad it could be. Yeah. Obviously, we're all working for better, but at the same time, it's even when I'm completely stressed, and a big exercise of mine is to not worry about future things. Because so much, I mean, worry in general is just future thought, right?
Yeah,
it's all future stress. So for me, I can stress out about things like in the present.
Right?
I
That's
do not
okay.
want to waste the energy on stressing out about things in the future.
Yeah.
Which another reminder is that like it could never happen. You know?
Yeah.
Like, all these things I'm worrying
about
might never happen. So it's and it takes a lot of effort. Less and less, but it still takes a certain amount of effort to get out of that thinking.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, especially since for people like us, entrepreneurs, or just people that own their time, and that's how I view it, or sort of describe it, is like we really are. I luxuriously own my time, right? So like as busy as I am with trying to do the 2 podcasts, I make every single bottle of kombucha for our kombucha company.
Wow.
I do all the most of the online marketing and everything else, and also the behind the scenes just running a business. Yes, I have 2 other people that help me, but still the bulk of that. On top of, I hang out with my kid a lot.
Right.
Like, so it seems like I'm super busy, but the thing is, 99% own my time so that I own that time, and those are just the ways that I've chosen to fill it.
Yeah.
It's different from when other people own your time and they're filling your time. That's when you're busy and you don't like it.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Like even the little bit of obligations that I sometimes have, because I'm also on the school board at my son's school. I'm also the class parent.
Aww.
I'm just all involved, but I've chosen to do those things happily by choice, not.
Right.
Yeah, right. So, but even this like once a month meeting, there is a little bit of like obligated to someone else other than me.
Exactly.
Right, but like, so I don't know where I was going with that, other than just that I am grateful for living this life of being able to almost fully own my time versus other choices. And I think that that is something that many people forget, that during the pandemic, they largely got to own their time.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's that perspective or that point of view of like around their ownership of time in their life, instead of like looking at the money thing and the things that they can get when they give up their time to an employer or other obligations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. It's so interesting too, because like when I quit my job, like I worked a corporate job. I was at Turner. So pretty much like I was at TBS and TNT working in the television industry, and then Cartoon Network up until 2018. And I quit, and I had the hardest time with that concept of owning my time, because I think that I was trained to look at my day as like productivity equals success.
Right.
And that's not true for every person, or that's not true for every day. And so it took me a really long time to get to the place where it's like, it's okay if I want to take a nap in the middle of the day without feeling guilty or without feeling like, like I've worked so hard to be able to like, be an entrepreneur, and like I do own my time. Why am I wasting it on a nap? It's like, no, that's why I do this. I should be lucky and happy, that I do this, instead of like that kind of guilt of feeling like I'm not doing enough, So,
and I'm not saying that there's always this struggle in my own household, but individually, there's always this struggle where we already feel, whether they have it on us or not, we already feel the judgment from other people. Like, so taking a nap. Like, we already feel like other people are going to judge us for taking a nap. Never mind, like, and we can't control their judgment.
Right.
Not really, not at all.
Yeah.
Right? So, but we can control our judgment. So, it's given all the choices, you're really left with, am I going to judge myself about taking this nap, or am I going to take the nap and rest and then go do the things?
Right, feel better. Yeah. And again, like with that time, it's owning the time. There is flexibility. So it's like, you know what, it's okay if I take a nap and then, I work a little bit, like later or whatever, like whenever, just like you don't have to have that like 9 to 5 productivity driven, success driven, results driven schedule in order to be successful.
Now, do you consider yourself a witch?
Yes, I think by definition, I wouldn't consider myself, I don't practice all of the Sabbats and things like that.
It's not a religion, so.
No. I know it's not, but like as far as like, well, like, Wicca is, more of like a religion. But as far as just like the concept of being like what a witch is, I do consider myself that. I think, like I said, like it's as far as just like I struggle with like labels. Right. And I think that's part of like growing up like in that church environment, and you're like, no one shall ever confine me or define me again. So, but yeah, if you just kind of break down what the concept like of a witch is, and I mean, come on, look around. Like look at all this stuff.
What is the concept of what a witch is to you? So for me, any job, any profession, really whatever you want to be, it's to some degree, largely this mental switch in your head. Like, you might do all these things, but you might, if your head doesn't buy into it, like, if I do all the witchy things, but I don't call myself a witch, then for you, you're not a witch. Okay? Because it does take that mental switch. What sort of are the things that you think the concept of being a witch, what is that for you?
So for me, I guess the concept of being a witch is really, I think that like, connection to the earth.
Okay.
And I think it's a connection to like the divine feminine, like kind of that essence of like reclaiming, you know. I think there's that beautiful quote that like people have on jackets, and it's like, it's pretty rebellious. It's like, we are the witches, or what is it? We are the witches that didn't burn. Do you know what I'm thinking of?
We are the like daughters of
Yes,
the witches
that didn't burn. Yes, and I'm like, that right there. I've been a feminist since I was like out of the womb. So like that kind of energy to me is like being a witch. And I think I get you know, all of the little like accoutrement of witchiness, like working with crystals, tarot, all of those kind of like tools that kind of work really hand in hand with that witchiness too. So I feel like that's not defining being a witch, because you can be like a green witch, or, you know, whatever, like, you know, we're
colors.
Well, green witch is like, like you're basically like your bread and butter of your witchydom is the earth. So working with like all herbs, you know, connecting with nature, like forest bathing, grounding, all of that kind of stuff, which is like slightly different than a kitchen witch, where you would like kind of get more. That's why I get hung up on labels.
I am witch adjacent, so but not a witch or witchy or whatever. Like I'm surrounded by witches.
Yes.
My house has really three witches. I guess not if you don't even include me. So, but I have not like delved into all these different terms. So, but they make sense.
Yeah.
Witchy witch, green witch.
Green witch, yeah. Greenwich. I'm a Greenwich Village green witch. But yeah. I mean, I think.
What are you?
I don't see, that's just it. Like I feel like I don't necessarily like the labels. Like that's why I kind of get like hung up on that a little bit. If I had to be like closest to anything, I'd probably be more of like a kitchen witch, I guess. Like I feel like all of the candles that I work with and I make, you know, I'm using like different herbs and tapping into those different properties. But yeah, it's like, I just feel like I work with angels like consistently, and you know, past life regression, all of that stuff. Don't define me.
How do messages come through you? How do they? Yeah. So what is that experience for you? Like, is it what amount of feeling, or is it like, do you see words? Do you hear words? Is it in your voice?
Yeah. So it's like pretty. There's like kind of like a scale, right? Like sometimes the message might be like literally like visual, like, or like, you know, I think this was probably like a year ago now. I like had another like visitation like in my room, and it was kind of angelic spirit guide of sorts, and they were really beautiful. Like they were, you know, like sacred geometry. It was like they weren't like a solid unit, but it was like all of the points on their face were like these gold lines, like geometric, like interconnected lines. It was awesome. And I knew what they were doing in that moment was like healing me, like working on like my chakra system as I was going to bed. And I just like looked directly in their eyes for like a minute, and I was like, is this really happening? And then I was like, oh, cool. And then it moves on,
this
right?
With your eyes open.
Yeah, that was with my eyes open. Okay. Yeah, but that doesn't happen as often. Mostly like what I will get is messages that are like auditory in my mind. Okay. Like I can, you know, hear things that they're saying, feelings, a lot of feelings, and smells. Like smells, I don't know like why, but I can be like, did somebody, you know, drink a lot of coffee, or I'm getting a smell of like a bonfire and that kind of thing. Yeah, so just like all the different sensations kind of blend together, and different things will come up in readings. As far as like energies go, usually when I am connecting in a reading with some like angelic being or like ascended master, they show up, they feel huge behind me, like super tall, and like, oh my God, you know, like something's behind me. And then if I'm working with like the other person's kind of more or less like spirit guides or like loved ones that have crossed over, they feel like their energy is smaller and it's kind of more in front of me.
Now, let me ask you this, because I'm not really in it, but so that sounds a bit channeling.
Yeah.
Now, but do you consider yourself
like a medium or spirit? So that's another.
Because and I know there are nuances, right?
Yeah.
But when even just mentioning like people that have passed over,
Yeah.
or their dead loved ones.
Yeah.
That is a degree of
mediumship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in a mediumship circle, you know,
okay.
like, and I do practice that with like a group, but I think I don't, you know what, you go through waves, like as like a healer and as a practitioner of different aspects that you kind of feel more drawn to at a certain point in your life. And I think like for me at like this moment, that literally might change next week, but like at this moment, I'm not as drawn to promoting mediumship per se,
Right.
because to me, what happens when you do that is you attract clients that are very much seeking
Yes.
answer, and they're you know, and it's like I consider myself much more of like a spiritual coach. Like my sessions are like therapy, you know, and so it's like I don't have, maybe I'm not the person that they're looking for.
Right.
I can't give them exactly what they want, and also I don't control what spirit comes through. I know there's some
Right.
mediums out there that maybe they do, good for them, that's awesome, but like I don't, if you're like I want to connect with my, you know, dead grandfather, I'm like I can't guarantee that they'll show up, you know.
They have to also come
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes like no spirits that have been on earth come through. Sometimes it's all just spirit guides or angels or whatever. Energies, like animal energies and stuff too. So yeah, I guess technically, yeah, like I am a witch. I am a medium, but it's just dependent on like what I promote, I guess.
Well, I mean, you're having sessions, and then within that session, you don't necessarily say this is strictly going to be a tarot session, especially if messages are coming in, or this is strictly going to be a Reiki session where more than likely, because the energy is flowing, messages are going to come in from different sources.
Exactly.
And it might be a dead loved one. But tell me about the doubt.
The doubt.
Well, so when you began, or I'm assuming that when somewhere along your journey, it was like, when you started getting messages from dead loved ones.
Oh.
And you're like, I don't know if I can tell, like, how was that experience for you?
Like the first one was honestly scary. Like I was at Future Perfect doing an in-person reading, and I had not even started mediumship classes. I hadn't explored it. I didn't consider myself a medium.
Right.
And this lovely woman came in and she was telling me that she actually didn't really say very much. I kind of just described this male energy that was here, and it was really weird. Like his energy was really intense, and then like, I shit you not, the candle started like flickering, the lights started flickering, and I was like, oh my God, what have I unleashed? Like, what is happening? And I felt so bad because I was like, I apologized profusely. I was like, I'm so sorry, like I don't do this. Like, and I gave her names of mediums that she could contact, but like that was like the first time that like something came through in such a forceful way that was like not expected. So I was scared the first time.
So you're doing what type of session with her?
I was just doing a intuitive reading, so I was just using the cards.
Okay, and then these things happened around you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was on my left side coming over.
You felt his presence?
Yeah, and he was very like kind of aggressive. Like it was very interesting.
Right. Did he speak to you?
No,
Oh,
there
okay.
wasn't a lot of, and that was like what I was saying to her too. I was like, you know, I wasn't attuned at that point. I didn't really even.
No, absolutely. Like it just all of a sudden like had come upon you.
Yeah.
Didn't even know to like have boundaries around it.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So I felt overwhelmed. I felt scared, and I was like, I felt like him pressing. I was like, he wants to say something, but I'm so sorry. Like I either I can't hear him, or I subconsciously don't want to.
But now's not the time.
Exactly.
I'm just not ready.
Yeah. So I was like, here's the name of somebody else.
Yeah. And that's great.
Yeah.
You know, even just being aware enough in that moment to be like, stop.
Yeah.
You know?
It stayed with me though. Like that was the weird thing too, is like I felt him like earlier in the day and I didn't know. And I was like sick.
Okay.
Like I was like so nauseous.
It's like coming on.
Yeah. And I felt this like weird presence. And I didn't put two and two together until she sat in front of me. And then I explained it to her, and then she said everything. And then I was like, okay, so that's what's happening. I need to talk to a mentor or something.
That was at Future Perfect. How long ago was that then?
2 years ago.
Okay, so you've been, and that's the thing, right? People think, or they think that all mediums or people that have that connectedness are like from the start.
Yeah.
Right? But like it can also be a skill that obviously you get trained in and develop over
Yeah.
time.
Oh, totally.
Right? And when and a lot of times because you start to be open to messages,
yes.
that means other tracks and beings can be like, oh, there's a way for me to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think like we're all mediums. We're all mediums, and I think it's just the level and mediumship too. Like, you know, if you're thinking about it in big picture style, it's like that is, you know, like as I was like connecting with like angels and, you know, spirit guides as a child, like that's sort of still a form of mediumship.
Absolutely.
So I was always doing it. I think it was just the crossed over loved ones, the people that had inhabited the earth. I had put up some big boundaries around that. And, you know, and then it was like, as I was doing more and more and more of these readings and this witchy side of me became more of my like life, my job, you know, I was like, oh my God, I'm, you know, this is a business that I can live off on this. Right. That I think opened up a whole new kind of
tell
domain.
me about that. At what point do you consider that you became more of a professional witch?
Ooh, that is a really good question. Because I feel like, I guess probably like 2.5 years ago, probably around when I quit my full-time job.
Okay.
So that was only like 2018, you know?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, because like as far as like being a professional, my definition of that would be like taking money and like, you know, having a business and like a, you know, whatever, like social media, that's like, this is my business type of thing. So yeah, that would have been around that time. But I've been that way my whole life. It's just a matter of like, you know, I was in the muggle world.
Right.
I was like, you know, I'm gonna work on these, what's the ROI? And like, let me give you the projections and blah, blah, blah. You know, meanwhile I come home and I'm like, let me pull some cards, you know? But I didn't really think that it was actually viable for me to have, like, to live off of that, to have like a life based on this.
And then what things got you there?
I think a lot, what we were talking about owning your time, right? And how you don't own your time in the corporate world and you feel very micromanaged. I also was like just inundated with stress. I mean, like I was working constantly. I was stressed out all the time. And I felt like I was having to like fight for things, like claw my way through like the day of like to get what I deserved or to get what I thought like was, you know, justified to me, because like corporate stuff does that to you. Like you can be inadvertently pit against people, right. You know, to get
inadvertently or
purposefully. Yeah, I think that they did it inadvertently. Like they would always feel like it was like, oh, we're such like a love and rainbows company, but it's like,
but we're gonna throw you in the arena.
Yeah,
gladiate.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's like I remember that there was like this person who was higher up, and she would have like these like lunch meetings with like her girls, and like I was never invited, and I was like, oh my, what is this? Am I in high school again? Because I do not want to go back to that. Yeah, so like that kind of like energy, and I was getting sick all the time, and let me tell you something crazy. I swear to you, like I had more like wrinkles like right here, and then I stopped working and they just went away. Like,
that's amazing.
I know.
Skin's amazing.
I know.
No, everything comes out in our skin.
Yes.
Right? So definitely energy and stress. And
so crazy. Yeah, I was like, oh my God, did I get younger after quitting my job?
Right.
I think I did.
Quit your job, look younger.
Right. It's the new facial. It's like, don't spend all this money, just quit your job.
Different types of stress.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, does that kind of answer, I think, what you were...
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I mean, so you're working a job you didn't like,
yes,
having a life you didn't like,
yeah,
and then what led you to
pull the trigger to quit? Yeah.
Really?
It took a really long time, and the universe for sure tested me because I had planned to quit for about a year before like I actually did. And so because I kept,
that's great.
Yeah, but I kept getting like I would get promoted, or they would give me this new, there were traps. They laid the traps, and they were like, are you actually gonna do this? And so it took me about a year to really kind of like say, okay, and I set the date, and I was like, this is the date I'm gonna quit. I had known that for 6 months. Like once I got that that final promotion, I was like, okay. I was like, I'll give it 6 months. So I went out from that date and I picked 6 months out, and I was like, that's it. I'm going to save all this extra money. I'm going to put it towards me, you know, my quitting fund. And while I was at, you know, in work, I would have this notebook where I would take notes, and like I had a page tagged in the back where I would just write down literally like things that brought me joy. Because I would be so unhappy doing this stuff, and I was like, I need to figure out what it is that like really lights me up, and then go in that direction. So I mean, it could be like making people laugh, or like, you know, doing like whatever, like cool makeup. Like I had this huge list going, and then from there I kind of looked at it and saw patterns, and I was like, okay, I think I gravitate towards this or this. And so yeah, when I quit,
so you made a list of happiness, and then
yeah.
you figured out how to make your life fit
Yes.
your list of happiness.
Yes, yeah.
Great. Well, so many people do it in reverse, right? Like,
yeah.
they find like, what's the thing that will make me happy? Like,
right.
So they're searching for the happiness in the other things, right? Versus like identifying what their happiness is or might be, and then finding the things that fit that.
Yeah, because
right?
when you have that list, like I was saying, you can kind of distill it into like, okay, a lot of these things are like, you like to help people, or you like a lot of the, like you like to bring joy and laughter to people. So find something that can go along that path.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you have the list, you're still at the job, and then were there any role models or examples that played a piece of it, or was it really just your own process? That's excellent.
Yeah, there really wasn't anyone. It was like the kind of job that it was like, it was just like comfy enough that people would be lifers. You know, so many people were just there for like their whole life. Yeah, so there wasn't that. And one other final test, I shit you not, Mark. Like literally, the guy who was like above me,
okay.
So he was like the director of social media, and I was like the senior manager. He quit. He put in his 2 weeks notice, like I think it was a month before my date that I had set. Remember, I was like, I'm sticking to this date. So he puts that in, and I'm like, he tells me like in private, and I just started laughing. And I couldn't tell him why I was laughing, but once I like put my 2 weeks in or whatever, like I was like, that's why I was laughing, dude. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, it's just like, you've got to be kidding me. And so then his boss was trying to like, maybe like, you know, groom me to maybe fill his shoes. And I was like, I can't, yeah. So it was like one final test.
Yes.
But by that point, I was so solid in my list of happiness. I was so solid in knowing that this will not fulfill that.
That's great.
Yeah. It was hard, but it was the right choice.
So then you quit.
Yep.
And then you went right into.
So then I was.
Did you take a break? What'd you do?
I took a break. Yeah.
Okay.
I took a break for like a month at least, and really a lot of that, like the first year, was really unlearning a lot of the toxic corporate, you know, kind of trauma. Like it's like I think corporate trauma is a real thing. And I think that we have to basically unlearn what we define as success, what we define as like having a good day and being productive. And so it took me a year to really unravel that and to redefine how I value like myself, where I put my values and successes. But no, yeah, so to go back, I took a break. I actually started a YouTube channel. I had a YouTube channel going, but because I told you before, like I specialized in like helping people make money on their YouTube channels, I was like, I can do this for myself.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
wait, let me help me.
Let me help me, right? What about me? So I started a YouTube channel. I was making a bunch of funny videos, and it was mostly comedy based. At the same time, I was really delving into like my craft and my practice. That's when I learned pranic healing and took more classes in that, and Reiki and all of that. Like I did like a mentorship program with Dara Metcalf of Future Perfect Cast Spells ATL, and she's a Reiki master, so I kind of apprenticed under her, and that was amazing. And so these two paths were kind of going simultaneously. And then, to be honest, the comedy shtick, like making videos each week, really got to a point where I was like, like there was some serious things that were kind of happening in my life, and it was like really hard for me to like fake these, like just to, and so I was like, I need to just like take a break from that and only make these videos if it feels inspired. But I put so much pressure on it that it wasn't fun anymore. So now I'm at a place right now where I'm trying to like, so I kind of went with the other direction of like, I'm just I'm all in on my spiritual journey. I'm all in on this, developing this as like a viable business. Now I'm at this place where I'm like, can I insert some funny videos here and there? Can I bring back that like little aspect of like comedy Kaylie,
Right. Well, I think since the whole brand is you.
Yeah, true.
So I think it makes sense. They're like, oh, also I tell jokes. Also, I think I'm hilarious. So if anything, you'd be like, I laugh at this video, and that's why I'm posting it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that you mentioned something about doubt earlier, and I think that the doubt for me honestly comes into, I have like a doubt and a fear that if I'm too goofy, if I'm too silly, people won't take me seriously in my channeled readings and like these things that come through. It's like, I don't know why I feel like people are like, no, it's, you know why? Because it's like there's this old paradigm spiritualist, this guru, and they separate themselves from all things
it's like
human.
The channels that don't associate with other channels.
Yeah,
like, we're not friends. It's because they're
Yeah. So like that whole kind of thing, I'm just like, I've always kind of struggled with like inserting that kind of side of myself into it for fear that like if somebody sees me like, saying something really like silly or whatever, that they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to take advice from her. She's a joke.
Well,
so that's my insecurity.
Part of it also, or now, the easier way to look at it, for me, because lately, I don't know if you've noticed, I'm pumping up a ton of stuff, right? And even I'm in it. So it's that, yes, and everything's in context. So if somebody sees your video and it's out of context, it's just the one video, that's out of context.
Yeah.
But if that one video gets them into seeing a few more of your videos, when they see full amounts of Kaylie.
Yeah. The picture.
Yeah, the whole picture.
Yeah.
Then that's what they will, that's what they will understand about you, because you're able to put all of it out there.
Yeah.
And so then, especially as we are getting used to consuming more and more media.
Yeah.
So they will consume more and more of Kaylie, and they'll see a more clear, complete picture of you, but you have to be brave enough to actually put that out there.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's the big deal with any of us.
Yeah, that's that doubt for me.
Well, it's the difference, and it's that maturity of sort of going from Instagram, which everything used to be very curated, even up until recently. I was still holding on to that, like, it's gotta be curated.
The grid aesthetic.
Yes, the grid aesthetic. And so then you don't post.
Right.
You don't post what you want to because it's gonna mess up your curated grid or TikTok or whatever, everything. But now everything moves so fast that you are kind of allowed to provide a more complete picture of yourself.
I love that.
Facets, because the people that start following you, they will see more of you in those different ways, but you have to be brave enough to put yourself out there in that way, which the curated grids and curatedness was a sort of defense.
Right. Absolutely.
And for us, it's another level of curating your life, which you always complain about, like, people only show the perfect parts and everything else.
You crop out the sadness in the pictures. At
the same time, you don't want to be like always a downer, but a balance and just whatever. Even overthinking it is a level of like stopping yourself from posting, and we need to let go of that judgment.
Yeah, it's such we are living in a very interesting time with social media, and things are changing, and I think that like kind of contributes to some of like the hesitation or the insecurity around it, because it's just like,
absolutely.
It's like, I don't even know what's like going on. What, I have to be on TikTok now?
All
like,
of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much. And so just when you feel like you've got like an idea of like how you want to go about like a certain thing, it changes, and now it's like all reels all the time,
The platform's gonna change.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, I think that also kind of contributes to that, like that hesitation, of like putting yourself out there. But honestly, Mark, like I'm so glad you kind of like brought this up, because it is just reaffirming to me that like that is just like that's just what I need to do. Like, you know, I'm in my own head about my social media presence.
And that's all of us, so yeah.
Yeah, like I'm so much more comfortable. I'm like, let's talk one-on-one, let's do this, you know, and then it's like social media, like what am I supposed to do?
Well, part of it, and this is like my own hack or that I've picked up from other people that have tips, is that you work to figure out how you can be comfortable doing it, right? Because we're just posting a thing. You just got to figure out how to be comfortable making that thing.
Yeah,
you
like
know?
we were talking about batch recording, like a couple things. So it's like you don't feel like, you know, it's like you're stretched thin doing like a video a day. Maybe you did a bunch of videos one day.
Yeah.
And then post them. It's like, that's more attainable.
Yeah, figuring out the strategies behind the scenes that let you be you and produce as much as you need to produce.
Yeah.
And taking, all those things.
Yeah.
So instead of everything is not hinging on your one post.
Right. Oh my gosh, yeah. Or you focus on it like all day long and then you're like, oh, I missed the window of when I should have posted it.
Or even just number counts.
Oh, yeah.
Like not posting because it didn't get enough likes. Or taking it down because it didn't get enough likes.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really, and people say, well, if you're posting so much, where's the quality? Well, that's not to say that it's not quality, but you, on some level, on whether or not it gets posted, is that judgment of quality. But you really have to look at it like, do I like it enough, regardless of whether or not other people see it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, regardless of the other criticism, as long as you're not hurting people and stuff like that.
Does it paint one little facet of Mark, you know, or Kaylie? Like, does it like, is it a little puzzle piece, a little like gemstone in our, you know, collection of us? Yeah.
And you can sort of justify it however you need to so that you post it. But on some level, the people, and you know, we're in the space of magic and everything, but the people that need to see it, hopefully will see it. And even if they don't all see it, a couple of them will.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes worth it.
Yeah.
And also, again, that doesn't mean that they won't see it later either.
Right.
I'm not saying anybody, but sometimes you go down a person's rabbit hole and you're like, oh, I didn't know you existed.
Oh my gosh.
Now let me see all of your stuff.
Like,
I love it all.
Yep, exactly.
So there's that effect, and you can't count on it, but don't let these things stop you from posting. Really stop you from sharing what you want to share with everyone else.
Yes. I'm here for this message. Thank you. I needed this.
Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was rad.
Awesome. All right.